Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know, from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars, topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, as always, Jeff Malinoff. And we had some interesting things that happened yesterday that we're going to talk about. We're also going to talk about the stuff that's going to happen this weekend in the games today, and also the Los Angeles Lakers. And I think they're calling it quits. I'll let you decide. I'll talk about it, why I think they are calling it quits for this season at least. And we'll go on from there. But first things first. LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers have agreed to restrict his minutes. And you might go, like they said, there's an option that you can go back-to-back games without even playing. And with that being said, that seems to me that is throwing the towel in, waving that white flag. Because they're not, I don't think they're officially eliminated from the playoffs yet. But no, they're not. I do know they are 6.5 games out of the final spot in the Western Conference Finals, the 8th seed, with only 17 games left. So what has to happen is basically the Lakers need to go on like a 10-game winning streak and have the Clippers and Spurs going like 6 to 8 game skids. Because at 37, both San Antonio and Los Angeles Clippers are tied at 37 and 29. They're both on winning streaks as well. And it's about 6 games, 6.5 games behind them. And the Wolves are in the same position. Timberwolves are 30 and 35 as well. But the Lakers have lost 4 straight, which is the tied for the longest losing streak right now in the NBA, tied with the New York Knicks with 4 in a row. So with that being said, the only team that you can see actually making it to the playoffs in the Western Conference out from the outside looking in is the Sacramento Kings, who are they're 32 and 32. They're about they're about 4 games out of the 8th seed, four games or so, yeah. So that's a logical chance because if you look at the Kings' schedule, like they play the Knicks twice, or they play the Knicks. They play the Knicks and the Wizards, which is the 2 games they should win. Then they play the Celtics again, the game they almost won last night or the other night. Then they play the tough 76ers, but then they play the Bulls, and then they play the Nets, and then they play the Mavericks, and then they play the Suns. And then the Lakers, and those are winnable games. They have one of the easiest schedules after this next week of tough ones against those Celtics and 76ers. Other than that, it looks like to be smooth sailing for the Kings, and they can do it. With the Clippers facing the Thunder tonight, they would need the Clippers to lose, and with the Spurs playing tomorrow. On Sunday against the Bucks, Kings got a real shot here. As for the Lakers, it's next to impossible. They are just, yeah. And even if they did tie, even if the Clippers or the Spurs did tie with the Lakers for like a final spot, both the Clippers and the Spurs have the tiebreaker against them. And so, like, if the Clippers tie with the Kings, they have that tiebreaker as well. But if the Clippers move up a spot and the Spurs tie with the Kings have that tiebreaker. So then, like, the Kings need the Clippers to keep winning and the Spurs to keep losing. That's basically how that's supposed to go. But as for the Lakers, I'm just looking at it and, like, I'm looking at it comparing to the Lakers' chances of winning, getting in the playoffs from the outside looking into the Sacramento Kings because they have the more legitimate opportunity compared to the Lakers. And then, of course, it's really crazy to say that the Kings have a better shot at making the playoffs, a more logistical shot at making the playoffs than the Lakers do. We really are living in an alternate dimension, it feels like. And, of course, with LeBron playing at his, could be worse, he's ever played in his career, it's just one of these things you're looking at this and going, like, how did it come to this? How did it go from the Lakers being arguably the favorites to, like, knock down the unbeatable Warriors? Can LeBron beat them in the playoffs and get to the finals for his 9th or 8th straight time, however amount it is? But not even making the playoffs is on a whole different spectrum of just shocking to me, because we've seen LeBron in the finals since 2011. It's just been the one constant in the NBA. The Western Conference, maybe not so much, but except for the Warriors last couple of years. But like before even them were a contender, and the Spurs were in it always. It was always the LeBron team as the Eastern Conference Finals champions. But now with him no longer in the Eastern Conference, we're guaranteed a new Eastern Conference winner. That's not a LeBron team. And also, an important fact is, this is his first time in the Western Conference, like as playing in a Western Conference like schedule. And I'm not sure if he realized just how difficult the Western Conference really is. And I think it's proven 10 times over right now that they are way more, that the Western Conference is superior to the Eastern Conference. I mean, I can't really explain it other than that because of the facts of how they're playing so bad right now. I can't put it into better perspective than that. And then you're looking more along the lines of, yeah, well, maybe LeBron is getting up there in age. No, I mean, when Michael Jordan was his age at 34, he was still playing at a high level. He was still playing in a championship contender, if I remember correctly. Let's see. Michael Jordan at 34. Michael Jordan, I'm going to look this up right now. 34 years old. What was he doing? When was he 34? So that was 22 years ago because he's 56 now. I'm doing this without anything. I'm just trying to remember correctly. I was looking up, but then I realized, wait a minute, I could just do 56 minus 34. That's 22 years, and then 22 minus 2019 is 1997. It was during his second three-peat. And again, here is a thing that maybe people are looking at when they go, oh, Jordan's great, is hands down the greatest of all time. Well, he was still in the Eastern Conference, and it's always been less challenging. It just has been the case, you know what I mean? I hate to really say it other than that, but I mean, this is during their three-peat. Again, I mean, this just shows how good Michael Jordan is, granted, but I want to just look at this more along the lines of LeBron compared to Michael Jordan is going to be the talk until LeBron retires, and even after LeBron retires, and it's going to be going on until there's a new sheriff in town, if you will, as the best player in the NBA. I don't know if that would be Kevin Durant taking that mantle. Could be Zion. Could be RJ Barrett. Could be someone we haven't even seen before. But this LeBron versus Michael topic is getting to a point where it almost is like consuming the legacy of LeBron itself. Like, regardless of what LeBron does, he will be compared to Michael Jordan. Like this, for example. Oh, Michael Jordan's never missed the playoffs like this, and this late in his career, blah, 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 blah. LeBron's never been this bad in this late in his career. But, I mean, we're going to forget about 2001 to 2000, or like 2003 or 2004 because of the fact that was an interesting take on it. That was not really him looking for success or a championship. That was just him playing out what he thought he could to prove that he can still play. So I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready for that comment of like, oh wait, and in his last couple of years he didn't get to the playoffs or he didn't get to the finals or whatever you want to say. Well, it's just because of the fact that he was not really playing for that. But when it comes down to right now, both of them at the age of 34, he's winning his second of 3 championships. Michael is for the second time, his second of 3. And then you look at LeBron right now. Of course, he had his first like major injury for the first time in his career with that groin injury. And of course, it could have been more along the fact that the Lakers were playing it super duper safe. That's why he was out for a long period of time, probably the longest period of time in his career. But I don't know. It just feels like maybe Father Time has caught up with him. Maybe he's realized the Western Conference is tougher than he's ever realized. I really can't tell you what the difference is between this year's LeBron and last year's LeBron because nothing has changed but his age, it feels like. But maybe there's more than meets the eye when it comes to this stuff, you know? It just feels like more along the lines of he's just a disappointment this year. He's just not living up to his hype, not living up to the high expectations the Lakers fans have or the Lakers organization have. Maybe it's the team around him that is trying to think he's going to be the savior of this team. But there's more work to be done than that. I don't know. It's so hard to tell. It's so hard to really go on and say, oh, he's the answer to all our problems. He's the guy that's going to take us to the promised land, blah, 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 blah. But, maybe not. Maybe the Lakers need to realize, or Magic Johnson needs to realize, they need a lot more work than just that. They need a lot more work than just gaining LeBron James. Maybe they need a better supporting cast for him. Maybe they need more, of course, the Anthony Davis thing kind of put everyone at odds, it feels like, with LeBron. That could have been a case. Or, maybe Kuzma and Ingram, who play really well, or big-time scorers, aren't believing they should play through LeBron the entire time. So they try to keep the ball themselves more often than not, and it costs them maybe some possessions. That could be a case. There could be thousands of other possibilities, when it comes down to this kind of thing. So I really don't know what the outcome is going to be, if this is going to be a bad relationship throughout the entire 4 years of LeBron's contract. And, LeBron can also just say, you know what, I retire midway through his contract. I know that's like the last thing people would expect, and I understand that. I get that, don't worry. But I see it along the lines of just the expectation of being LeBron James. And that might be too much. It's so hard to really... I don't really know how else to describe it other than just like bad luck, maybe, or just there's a lot of unanswered questions regarding LeBron and the Los Angeles Lakers right now. 4 losses in a row, and that was like, I believe 3 losses ago, LeBron said he was going to go into playoff mode, quote unquote. So, I mean, maybe he's underestimating himself. Or, I'm sorry, not underestimating, excuse me. Overestimating himself. That could also be a major possibility of, I don't want to say uncertainty, but just like maybe there's officially doubt in his mind. There's doubt in the mind of LeBron James now. I don't know how else to describe it other than is there regret? Is there something else that we're not seeing in LeBron's head that's really affecting him? I honestly don't know. I really don't know. And when that is the case, we're looking at possibilities of more than just a collapse, maybe more along the lines of just the end of his career. And I don't mean a severe injury ending his career. I see more along the lines of just maybe he's realizing that he's not the same player he used to be. I don't know. I hope that's not true, because I still think LeBron's one of the greatest to ever play the game. You can easily put him at number one in your list. You can put him at number two and honestly, I don't put Michael Jordan at number one anymore, because I see it as just pure dominance in the NBA, and Michael Jordan had dominance, don't get me wrong. But the man that dominated more than he did, in my opinion, was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And when I say that, I use if he was playing in the NBA right now, would he succeed? Honestly, I say yes. In his prime, obviously right now. Because what Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did is borderline unfair. Because he would put his arm out and keep you at bay with his 8-foot, 20-foot wingspan, whatever it was. And with that, he would just do his sky hook, which goes in 99.99% of the time. And that's just how he scores. I mean, what do you think he's the all-time leading scorer for? He just is that dominant for a reason. But again, I probably will change up my picks every now and again and say, you know what, maybe Michael was the best. Maybe LeBron is the best. You can totally go into that circumstance and go, yeah, you know what, maybe that's the right choice for the best ever. There's never really a correct option for the best ever, but regardless, it's LeBron is hurting that kind of legacy he has with this run with the Lakers. So with that being said, I think we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk about the games that happened yesterday. There's two games, but one big game between the Thunder and the Portland Trail Blazers, and a pretty underrated guy, in my opinion, that deserves a little more credit than he does get. And we'll get right on that when we return.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. We just finished talking about the Lakers and LeBron and all that good stuff, and now let's move on to the other games that happened yesterday. And, well, we don't have to talk about one of the games, but just in the Bucks beat the Pacers in a big-time Eastern Conference matchup, 117-98, not very close, but Middleton and Giannis had both 29 and 27 respectively. Giannis putting in work for MVP still. A little hiccup for the Pacers, but they should be fine in the long run. They're still third in the East. a half a game ahead of the 76ers. But even if they do drop below the Sixers, they'll still be in the playoffs, no problem. They'll still get a run in. But this is then the other game. Portland versus Oklahoma City. They both have the same identical record with as well as the Houston Rockets do. So winner of this game would be third, the undisputed third in the Western Conference. Or not, maybe not the undisputed third, but a chance to be the undisputed third. Because, I'm not sure if Houston would drop down. I know 39-25 and Oklahoma City would be 40-25. I'm not sure if they would have to swap or they'd have to wait for the Rockets to play their next game in order to figure that out. But regardless, this was a huge matchup between two teams with identical records. And boy, was it interesting. It was close throughout until kind of the end. Maybe not even the end. Maybe that's a strong word. But it was a close matchup, and it led to overtime. And what people are saying about this game, the game ended with 129-121 final overtime victory for the Thunder, as Damian Lillard got 51 points in this game. In incredible fashion, an incredible way of doing it. And people are saying, the Western Conference needs this finals matchup in the first round of how close these two are coming and how entertaining the game was. I mean, George with 32 points, 14 rebounds. Westbrook with 37 points himself. Lillard with 51 points and 9 assists. An amazing game for him with only 3 3-pointers, too. But 18 free throws out of 20. 15 field goals in total off the line. Away from the line, that is, or not free throws, that is. And just in general, it just shows that how good the Portland Trailblazers are, or maybe just how good Damian Lillard is. Damian Lillard is one of the most underrated players, I feel like, in the NBA. I would put him in my top 10 in the NBA right now. And some people wouldn't. I honestly see some people wouldn't. And I would just have to disagree with that because he's a very talented player. He is the sole reason why this team is so good where they are, or why they are where they are in the playoffs, is because he's that talented. He's that talented to lead a team to victory. He is the franchise player. He's earned the right to be the franchise player, and he's done it multiple times. He's won a playoff series in the past, and I just don't see why he's not getting the respect he deserves. And with that being said, Lillard with 51 points still is an incredible feat. Even in the loss, I think he deserves all the credit in the world for his accomplishments. But he's in a smaller market in Portland. I think that's one of the main reasons he's now looked at as highly. But regardless, that was one of the great games of the year. Great comeback, a great just game in general, overtime. Huge performances by both franchise players on both teams, Russell Westbrook and Damian Lillard. You can add Paul George to that list for his MVP candidacy. Just a very high-scoring game. No disappointments whatsoever. Portland lost, but this just proves they can still compete with the best of the best. But moving into today's games, we got some interesting ones. Most notably, number 1 versus number 2 in the Western Conference. We got the Nuggets and the Warriors facing off tonight at 7:30 Pacific time. We have with Andrew Bogut returning to the Warriors on that minimum deal he signed. He's going to be out, though, for personal reasons, it says, so I'm unknown about what the purpose is for that. But still, two of the best teams in the NBA, Denver Nuggets and the Golden State Warriors, and this is the biggest test for the Denver Nuggets. They've had an unbelievable season throughout this entire year, no doubt about it. Proving against better and better teams that they can compete with the best and deserve to be where they are. And with that, they also are going into this game. They need to at least keep this game close to prove where they are. You know what I mean? It just feels like it just proves that this game is crucial. Not just, maybe also for the other Warriors as crucial in this as well, because they want to prove they still can beat the best of the best. I don't know. It just feels like their season is kind of disappointing with as many losses because they were supposed to have like these, like, could this be the first team with 80 wins with adding in DeMarcus Cousins, even though he was halfway through the season? People were thinking about all these other possibilities. And with how they've been playing, and their, if I remember correctly, their record is only one game behind the Denver Nuggets. So this is a game of like who is really the best in the West. So I am looking forward to that game the most out of any of the games this week, this weekend for that matter. I mean, the other one I can think of that's going to be entertaining is tomorrow's Celtics-Lakers rivalry. But, I mean, that's kind of a shadow of its former self now, to be honest. We got the Pacers 76ers playing on Sunday, which is also pretty entertaining. But nothing really living up to the hype of the two 40-win teams, two of the best teams, second place and first place teams in the Western Conference, arguably the superior conference, and what he can do and what is going to happen. Could this be a conference finals preview? Could this be the Nuggets showing that they can beat the Warriors and maybe even get to the finals ahead of the Warriors? Who knows? But this game is going to be very entertaining to watch. I'm looking forward to it. You're looking forward to it. We're all looking forward to it. And with that happening, it's going to be in Oakland at the Oracle Arena. So it seems like the Golden State Warriors are the favorites. And, you know, they opened as the 7-point favorites, and now the 6.5, the spread at least, is 6.5-point favorites. And with that being said, I just want to say, like, comparing the teams, just even roster-wise, like, the best player on the Nuggets, Jokic, the Joker, was not touted as going to be this unbelievable player, too, going into, like, when he was being drafted by the Nuggets. It was more along the lines of, like, he's just a solid player that can get the job done. And then he exceeded all expectations and just does virtually everything and anything he can to really be the best on the court. And he's done much of that. He has helped this team win countless games and come in clutch at the most crucial times in game winners and such and such. And what he's done compared to what Stephen Curry has done upping his game, you could say there's a lot of stuff related to how they're both successful. I mean, I think they were both coming in not supposed to be these huge franchise players. I honestly don't think when the Golden State Warriors drafted Stephen Curry that they thought he was going to be what he is now. Like, he wasn't going to be this franchise player that was going to be one of the biggest draws in the NBA or anything of that nature. But then he just comes out of nowhere and is laser focused from beyond the arc. And when he shoots a three and he misses, that's legitimately surprising. Because 9 times, just so often, more often than not, he is making nothing but net three-pointers from 20,000 feet away, you know. So how I just put this is, like, both Jokic and Curry have earned the right to be their franchise player, to be arguably one of the best, the two of the best players in the NBA. They are fighting for those spots. Like, Jokic is fighting for an MVP award. I know it's probably not likely him going to get it, but he's been in the talks about it. He's been in the talks about a very talented, him as talented as he is, being an MVP candidate, maybe even winning the MVP one day. So, with that being said, that's just how impressed I have been with Jokic and how improved he's gotten since being drafted. And same with Steph Curry as well. I mean, they both had similar paths to where they are now, like I said. But regardless, I think it just shows, like, the Nuggets were not expected to be this good, obviously. And with that being said, it also shows the fact that if the Nuggets win this game, I'm not going to say, oh, they're destined for the championship, but, like, you know, it's just a great season for the Nuggets. This has turned to an unbelievable, unexpected success I am expecting. And with that being said, I'm looking forward to seeing how this game goes. I'm seeing a close matchup. Do I give the edge to the Warriors? Probably still, but honestly, I can see it going to overtime or a last-second shot. I do not see a blowout in any way, shape, or form. The biggest deficit I see with this game ending is probably like 4 or 5 points. That's honestly how that's going to go. That's my personal opinion, though. That's my personal prediction of what's going to happen in the biggest game so far this year between the two. But we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be talking the rest about the games this weekend and getting more detail about all the games this weekend and putting in our thoughts and 2 cents in, and we'll be right back right after this.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA, from the UFC to extreme cage fighting. They got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. We're finishing up the day here with the games that are happening today and this weekend. Like we just said, we just finished previewing the Nuggets Warriors. Now let's go to the other important games. Thunder and Clippers. Clippers need this win to stay alive in the playoffs. They're still 6 games ahead of the 9th place Sacramento Kings, but with the Kings' easy schedule coming up, this might not be as easy as it sounds. So they got to play a very exhausted Thunder team, but still a Thunder team that can beat them. And so and Clippers are the 2-point favorites, so we'll see how that goes today at 7:30 Pacific time. I believe that is not a nationally televised game, so people in Oklahoma City and probably LA too, check it out. Raptors and Pelicans, there's no contest. Raptors taking this. There's literally no with Drew Holiday out, as well as just how the Pelicans just been playing, there's no chance in my mind they're going to beat the Raptors. Raptors are going all the way. In that game, not all the way champ. They might go all the way. Who knows? But for that game, I'm going with them 100%. Pistons and Bulls. Pistons still trying to hold on to their playoff spots, and they're playing a weak team in the Bulls. They seem to have that one locked in. 4-point favorites. I'm not going to say locked in, but still a good opportunity to get a little more comfortable in their seeding in the Eastern Conference playoffs. Then we got the Jazz and Grizzlies. One team's fighting, the other team's kind of going for Zion, so, do the math there. Cavaliers and Heat, one team's going for playoffs for Dwayne Wade's last run, the other team's going for Zion. So Heat over Cavs, my prediction. Then Rockets and 76ers, two very good teams. Harden versus Embiid. Well, there's other great players on. Well, Embiid's actually out. So that's actually not happening. I forgot about him having his left knee soreness. He's possibly not going to play against the Rockets. It sounds like he's going to be out. Their injury report says he's going to be out, but they've kind of had that change. I've seen multiple players or teams change their minds like last second when it comes to their injury reports. So who knows if Embiid's going to play, but 76ers still have Jimmy Butler, so probably Jimmy Butler versus James Harden, and Ben Simmons is still playing at a good level, so it's going to be a good game to watch. I will take the 76ers, but I'm not leaving out the Rockets. And if I'm Oklahoma City, I need 76ers to win to take that third spot from the Rockets, because they need that game to lose to hold on to a one-game lead for the third place seed. Wizards and Hornets, it's just two bad teams in the Eastern Conference. I don't think the Hornets are even in the playoffs anymore. Last time I checked, they're not. They're outside looking in. Not a good chance of them making it, but if they win this game, they still have an opportunity, I guess. Magic's still trying to hold on to trying to fight for a playoff spot themselves. They've lost 2 straight. They're playing the Dallas Mavericks with Luka Doncic fighting for that Rookie of the Year candidate against Trae Young. Those are the two that's going against. And then this weekend, we got the Kings fighting for their playoffs hopes against a weakened Knicks team they beat a couple last week. So they have a good chance. Still Marvin Bagley out with a knee injury. Hopefully he comes back soon because he's been playing extremely well for the team. He was even in thoughts about being a Rookie of the Year candidate, but doesn't look like it's going to be the case anymore due to that injury. We got also the Nets versus the Hawks. Trae Young fighting for his Rookie of the Year. And then the Nets fighting for their playoff hopes. It sounds like they're going to make it, though. Just looking at the Eastern Conference playoffs right now, Milwaukee 1, obviously, Raptors 2, Indiana 3, Philly 4, Boston 5, Detroit 6, and Brooklyn is at 7 with 34. So they are a good amount of games ahead of the Heat, who are the 8th seed. So they seem to be comfortable for now, but it wouldn't hurt to win this game and get even more comfortable into the playoffs. But again, they would have to play at the series if the playoffs started now. They had to face Toronto, so that'd be a big challenge. But D'Angelo Russell, man, hats off to him for this season. An amazing season for him. And man, the Brooklyn Nets really lucked out by getting him in a trade. Really good move by him. And good. And it's just one of those great comeback stories from a guy who had a rough first round. He was all this hyped after a first round pick. All this hype was surrounding him, and then he kind of collapsed under the pressure in what it looked like. But him coming into his own in Brooklyn is a great sight to see, and I think there's going to be plenty more of it to come. There's also Wizards and Timberwolves. Not much to go on there. Celtics and Lakers, like I said, a classic rivalry. We'll see if the Lakers, see how much LeBron plays. We'll see how his restriction of minutes affect the game. But it looks like they're fighting for Zion as well. Or just a top pick in the draft. Maybe get one of the Duke players that are going to be available, like R.J. Barrett himself. But it seems like they're giving up for Zion. That's just my personal opinion when it comes down to that kind of thing. Hornets and Bucks. Hornets desperately need to win this to stay alive in the playoffs to hang with the Heat, who have the 8th seed at the moment. But it's the Bucks who looking like the team of the East. Not only the team in the East, but the team in the NBA, leading the league in with their records. So, when we started this season up, I never expected the Bucks to be the best record in the NBA. And with that being said, I think everyone said, "Oh, the Celtics are going to be the first place in the East," but man, they kind of collapsed themselves. They're still in the playoffs, obviously, but I think it's more along the lines of just doubt in the minds of the team with Kyrie Irving might be going to New York and all this. There's just a lot of different questions regarding this team, and just also the trades to Anthony Davis. Who knows? People don't know where they're going to end up with the whole Anthony Davis debacle. They don't know where they're going to end up at the end of the season. So it just seems like an odd circumstance, an odd situation where they're going to be playing. So it's going to be interesting to say the least. But again, it seems to me that it's between the Raptors and the Bucks with the best seasons and the best. And Kawhi Leonard, of course, was supposed to be that good with the Raptors. So that wasn't a surprise. Just how Giannis came into his own this season is just remarkable in itself and really great. And then, Sunday doesn't look too good for one particular team, and that's the Phoenix Suns. They're playing the Golden State Warriors. Yeah, the Golden State Warriors. You know, that team with Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and DeMarcus Cousins all in the starting lineup usually. And they're all playing at a high level. And that can arguably be an all-star game team in itself, alone. That's actually all on one team together. Yeah. Kind of a bummer. Not a bummer, but a bummer for the Suns for sure. But man, they might get. Honestly, why people are seeing this? How come they can't get Zion? But honestly, with Zion, if they get Zion, the Suns do, and DeAndre Ayton, if he gets into his own little groove, will definitely be a serious threat. I feel like a developing threat at least, if they manage to get Zion. But it seems to me that it's like honestly, I've always considered the NBA draft lottery to be a little suspicious. So with that being said, I've always got to look at oh, wait a minute, the Cavs are involved, and if the Lakers get involved, they might get the first pick because that's just how it works apparently. But again, then of course there's the Knicks as well. So who knows who's gonna end up where in the long run? But it's gonna be very interesting to say the least of what is the outcome for the Suns, and do they even have a shot at Zion because of other people's chances at the Zion case? I don't know. I've always been. I think everyone's been suspicious of the lottery, of the draft lottery, ever since the first one. I mean, the first one had the infamous bended letter. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where you're looking at it and going to the point of where wow, the NBA really set up a chance for the Knicks to get Patrick Ewing, and so why won't that still be happening? You know what I mean? It just disappointing in the long run that that's still a thing to consider because of the first time it happened. You know, when you expect the first time for the first time it happened and people found out it was true, or maybe it's not technically still true, but the evidence is really they're back against the wall in that one. Wouldn't they just get rid of the draft lottery in general? But I don't know, or make it a little more just less amount of teams. I don't know. I don't know. There's just a lot of questions to go on when you think of the draft lottery. And then everyone's like, why don't the NFL do it? I feel like that'd be worse in the NFL. I just don't know, because then more teams would tank. It feels to me that the draft lottery gives other teams a reason, more teams to tank than not. That's just my personal opinion to it. And, I don't know. I've always had some negative aspects of it when it comes to the draft lottery, but, who knows? I could be wrong in that sense. But good luck to the Suns when it comes to the draft lottery. And other games that are heavy on Sunday: Pacers and Sixers, Raptors and Heat, Magic, Grizzlies, Pelicans, Hawks, Rockets, Mavericks, Bucks, Spurs, Knicks, Timberwolves. All games are kind of to me, except for the Spurs and Bucks game. That might be entertaining. But that should be our show today. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you all have a good weekend. We'll see the outcome of all these games and such. And always tune in on Monday as well. We have our sports and football podcast on Monday as well. As with all that's happening with Antonio Brown, all that situation in the NFL, it'll be very interesting to watch the football podcast. But as always, I'm Jeff Malinoff, and I'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.